welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Maria Sonnen. I am the Uber judge for this session, which sounds really important, but it's not. I'm just another judge. I'm just supposed to, I have special duties in saying certain things. So what I would like to do is at the beginning, just really quickly go around so we can all introduce ourselves. And for the students, if you could just tell us your year and your major, because I think that's always really interesting information for us. And then what we'll do is I have some instructions to give to you all. And then once I'm done with those instructions, we'll go ahead and turn it over to the three of you. And you can do your presentation. And as last mentioned, when you're done with your presentation, if you could just go back into this view so we can all talk for our Q&A and feedback sessions. Okay, great. So I'll start. My name is Maria Sonnen. I am an ethics program manager at a U.S. defense company. Been in ethics compliance for many years, 15 or so, and I've been with IBAC or been involved in IBAC for almost that whole time, and have judged for probably half a dozen years off and on. So that's who I am. Carl, do you want to go ahead?
Well, hi, I'm Carl Oliver, and I'm retired from the Northrop Grumman Ethics Office. And I've been doing these judging things more than 20 years.
Carl should have been our Uber judge. He has more experience than I do. Elizabeth.
Hi, guys. I'm Elizabeth Weathers. I'm an attorney in Dallas. The last 13, 14 years or so, I've done ethics law. I ran the ethics program at a multinational financial institution for a number of years, but now I do ethics, employment, and privacy consulting.
So Ilya, do you want to go first? And am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah. So I'm Ilya Kolesnikov. I'm a freshman econ major.
Great.
My name is Anthony Petrosino. I'm a freshman computer science major.
Excellent.
My name is Maxwell Vogel, and I'm a freshman economics major.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you so much. And Karen, you're their coach, correct? At the school?
Yes, Karen Title. I'm in economics and accounting faculty.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. So I'll go ahead and get started with the instructions and then we'll go. Okay, so this session is your full presentation for the IBAC competition. And in this part of the competition, you are taking on a fictional business identity, and you are assigning a fictional business identity to us, the judges. So please make sure when you either before you start or as part of the beginning of your presentation that you let everyone know who you are and also who we are. What roles we're playing. We're going to give you 25 minutes with a 5-minute cushion to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem that you've identified and to recommend a solution to us addressing all those three. During this time, we will not interrupt you. When you're finished, the judges are going to be asking you questions for 20 minutes. And during this Q&A, we will stay in character and you stay in character as well. Okay. After we're done with Q&A, I'll kind of call time, and then we'll all go back into our normal roles. And we as judges will give you some feedback on your presentation, as well as give you some feedback that might help you for tomorrow for your 10 minutes and your 90 seconds. Okay. So a couple of important things. The ethical aspects of your analysis are the most important, but we would like you to describe them in simple, practical, and common sense fashion, not philosophical terminology or basing an argument on religious or theological grounds. And during this presentation, each of you should have some type of a speaking role. Okay, so do you all have any questions for us before we start? Nope. Okay, wonderful. So whenever you guys are ready, you can go ahead and share your screen and we will get started.
Sounds good. I'm clicking share screen right now and it says the host disabled it for me.
Oh, Les will help us out. Les is our
Yeah.
mighty IT tech. He's on it. No worries. We have plenty of time, so don't stress.
Okay, give it a try now.
Yep, now I can. Thank you. This looks good. All right. Hello, Flip Board. We are representing the Crusader Consultants, and we are here presenting our case of Poker Face: The Hidden Secrets of Underage Gambling. My name is Anthony Petrosino. I am a freshman computer science major from North Reading, Massachusetts.
My name is Max Vogel. I'm a freshman econ major from Ventura, California.
And I'm Ilya Kolesnikov, a freshman econ major from Jacksonville, Florida. So to summarize the problem that Fliff is facing, Fliff is using legal technicalities in order to avoid financial repercussions and legal restrictions associated with running a traditional legal sportsbook, and is thus able to reach an untapped market of underage bettors who are more susceptible to Fliff's marketing and retention tactics, in turn unethically getting kids hooked onto addictive and self-destructive behavior.
So for the ethical implications of Fliff, groups that Fliff is targeting, such as teens, are more susceptible to addiction. The statistic that problem gambling impacts 4 to 8% of youths compared to just 1% of adults shows that discrepancy in susceptibility to addiction. Furthermore, teens who gamble are more likely to engage in illicit activities such as the use of illegal substances, for example. And finally, gambling is linked to the highest rate of suicide among all addictions. So the number of 11th and 12th grade males experiencing gambling problems, such as lying about how much they lost or being unable to control their gambling, rose to 8.3% in 2022 from just 4.2% in 2018, according to the Wall Street Journal. And we think Fliff's current state of operation is contributing to this statistic. So the website and marketing is clearly targeted toward a younger audience through its simple, vibrant, easy to navigate interface. The overly animated money and coins coupled with the massive sort of 3D trophy gives the illusion that Fliff is a harmless game in which you can't really lose any real money, and this grabs the attention and the interest of a much younger audience. So you can bet with Fliff Cash, which is essentially real money, or Fliff Coins, which can be redeemed for gift cards at a certain point once you've accumulated enough coins. In terms of the aspects of the app, you have your social page in which you can see what bets are live, what other people are betting, what you can risk, what you can gain, stuff like that. And on the other side, you have your wallet, which shows your funds in the form of Fliff Coins, Fliff Cash, which is essentially real money, like I said, and XP points. Then you have your rewards in the form of Fliff, in the form of gift cards, which can be purchased with Fliff Coins and XP, along with the option to cash out with real money once you've accumulated at least $50 in Fliff dollars. Although Fliff has a complex sweepstake system, it seemingly simplifies the system in order to make it more user-friendly. This can lead to confusion when inexperienced users attempt to understand how the system works. So Fliff perpetuates gambling in many different ways. Fliff has a fixed intervals reward system that gives users daily and hourly Fliff coins and cash. And this rewards them for using the app and logging on as much as they can, and allows them to continue betting even after they've lost everything. And Fliff forces continued gambling by invalidating Fliff Cash after 30 days of inactivity on an account. So essentially, if you do not want to continue to bet, you have under $50 in Fliff, you will lose all your money if you don't actually log on within 30 days, which causes users to continue gambling. And this conditioning obviously exploits young people's underdeveloped brains, and it can cause permanent, irreversible damage. Perpetual gambling can lead to massive long-term losses and a diminished feeling of self-worth. It can also make individuals more impulsive, and it's proven to cause low self-esteem, stress, anxiety, depression, which leads to its high rate of suicide per the National Institute of Health. So FLIF does not check for an identification until the user actually attempts to make a purchase of FLIF coins or withdrawal of FLIF cash. Therefore, a user of any age could simply say that they are 18, only withdraw on gift cards, and this still leaves them susceptible to addiction. When creating a new account, the information to the right, along with just a phone number, is all that a user must input to begin sports betting and receiving coins and cash. And like I said, this leads to many underage gamblers getting in on the action.
Our first suggested solution is to combat sports betting addiction. And we suggest that FLIF could implement a feature that limits the amount that can be wagered during certain periods of time, such as daily, weekly, monthly, total wagers. If this limit is permanent on an account, it can prevent that user from betting excessively and from developing a dangerous sports addiction. Many official sportsbooks currently implement this feature, as it is not difficult to program or costly to implement, and it does not drastically decrease profits. And it'll also help FLIF demonstrate commitment to users, as it would show that it cares about its users' well-being. Another solution we suggest is to help prevent identity fraud. And we suggest that FLIF could use a self-certified identification system, or a SCID system, to confirm identification upon making an account, instead of only requiring users to check off a box saying that they're 18 or older. And this system is already used by other sportsbooks such as DraftKings, and involves the user submitting a picture of them holding their government ID next to their face, allowing for the company to double check that the ID that is being used is truly the user. We suggest that FLIF takes the SCID system one step further, and to not only check that the ID is the user, but to also scan the user's face upon making an account on the app, and further scan the user's face every time they open the app as sort of a password lock system. Although this may be more costly, come with privacy issues, and be more time consuming to develop. Since members of the teen age demographic typically have less money to spend, preventing underage users from using FLIF should not have a large impact on profits. So what sets FLIF apart from its competitors? FLIF's self-claim is that FLIF is a social sportsbook, pioneering in fun-for-play sports picks by turning sports betting into a social game. However, FLIF is exactly like any other online sportsbook. The main difference is that FLIF uses virtual currencies called FLIF coins and FLIF cash in a sweepstakes system. So these two currencies are somewhat complex. Every time a user stakes 1,000 FLIF coins for the first time after initially receiving them, the user earns 1 experience point, which is equivalent to 1 cent and can be redeemed through gift cards or converted into FLIF cash. 1 FLIF cash is a direct equivalent to $1 US. Bettors are given 1 FLIF cash every day for a maximum of 5 free cash and 5,000 FLIF coins every day with no max cap. They're also given 10 cents of FLIF cash and 1,000 FLIF coins every 2 hours throughout the day. This is that fixed interval reward system that we brought up earlier. So there are 2 primary ways that someone can cash out of FLIF. And as mentioned, XP points can be cashed out through gift cards for everyday establishments or converted into FLIF cash. And FLIF cash can be cashed out once a user has $50 or more. And FLIF cash can be extracted directly into a bank account at a 1-to-1 exchange rate. For example, $100 of FLIF cash is directly proportional to $100 US. So we believe that this will result in many legal issues resulting in the future, as states have very strict laws regulating online sports gambling. FLIF takes advantage of using a sweepstakes promotion system in order to allow for more accessible sports betting. So how exactly sweepstakes works is that sweepstakes is a prize giveaway system where rewards are pooled and the pool is split evenly amongst winning participants. Online sweepstakes typically are promotional events for companies and are free to enter if a user completes a desired action. This form of contest is relatively regulated, but is not required to be federally or state sanctioned. And federal contest rules require sweepstakes to declare the odds of winning, the date the winner will be selected, have odds uninfluenced by entries and other restrictions. Most importantly, that sweepstakes must be free to enter. So the way we see FLIF applying sweepstakes is that FLIF simply claims that each sweepstake starts at the beginning of each month and ends at the end of each month. And winners will be selected throughout the month as sports events are played. For instance, if you bet on a sports event, you're a winner if that team wins, if the team you bet on wins, and you're a loser if that team loses. Also, all the odds are not influenced by other bets, but are influenced by the sporting events themselves. So technically, that qualifies that condition, and all payouts are from pools of cash. This gives FLIF the freedom to pick and choose certain rules as long as it continues to fulfill all of the requirements to be a sweepstake. So our biggest question is FLIF really free to enter, which is one of the requirements to maintain its sweepstake status? So FLIF allows for the purchasing of FLIF coins and FLIF cash with US dollars. Since sweepstakes must be free, only FLIF coins can actually be purchased. With each purchase of FLIF coins, the user receives free FLIF cash proportional to the purchase value. For example, a $5 purchase would give you 25,000 FLIF coins and an additional free $5 of FLIF cash. Because FLIF coins are purchasable, they can be used to enter sweepstakes, but are not able to be converted directly back into US dollars, because that would be too similar to a sports book. Their primary purpose is to allow for the participant to climb the social leaderboard and earn FLIF XP. However, since FLIF cash is technically a free currency, it can be used to not only enter sweepstakes, but can also be withdrawn directly to US dollars since it was not technically purchased by the participant, but given to them, therefore following the federal contest rules for sweepstakes. And in this sense, FLIF coins kind of acts as a middleman for FLIF cash. So there are both risks and benefits to using a sweepstakes system. The benefits are that by using sweepstakes, FLIF is able to set whatever odds, purchase regulations, and other rules they want. And this is how they're able to say that their app is 18 and up. And this also, by using sweepstakes, FLIF is able to avoid paying the heavy taxes and licensing fees imposed upon official online sports books. However, FLIF strategy walks a fine line between sweepstakes and actual sports betting because of its seeming simplicity for participants. If FLIF could be proven to be a sports book, they could be subject to major legal repercussions. And due to a variety of laws regulating sports gambling, many states have already banned the use and purchasing of FLIF cash. So we believe that FLIF could face a settlement very similar to what Double Down Interactive faced. Online casino Double Down Interactive agreed to a $415 million class action lawsuit settlement to resolve claims that its casino mobile games violated Washington's gambling laws. In Double Down Interactive, users were able to purchase chips with real money and were then able to wager those chips and able to convert those chips directly back into real money. And plaintiffs contended that these casino games represented illegal gambling schemes. We believe that the similarities between Double Down Interactive and the system FLIF currently uses are too similar, and that FLIF could be next in facing such a legal lawsuit. And we can also see Double Down Interactive implementing a feature that allows consumers to continue to play apps without purchasing in-app currency, such as giving users free chips every day or week. And that is similar to FLIF in the sense that FLIF gives users free cash and coins every day and every 2 hours. So some solutions. So we provide 2 solutions to these legal issues. The first, we suggest that FLIF takes a complete sweepstakes route and that they replace FLIF cash and FLIF coins the flip cash and flip coins system of currency with a true sweepstakes system that uses a ticket system. And in this system, participants would take their tickets and put them into prize pools that are related to outcomes of games. For instance, if you bet on a team winning, if the team wins, you would benefit from that. These prize pools, the prize pools with winning outcomes would be distributed amongst participants evenly, and pools with losing outcomes would be nullified. And participants would be able to purchase additional tickets to increase winnings, allowing Flip to continue to profit. We also suggest that Flip could also take the sports betting solution route, which is that it would keep its flip cash and flip coin system of currency, but it would comply with all regulatory laws and other online sports books have to follow. And this would require Flip to remove in-app purchasing and access to flip cash for all participants under the age of each state's required gambling age. And it would require Flip to also pay each state's licensing and taxing fees, which could be very costly but beneficial long-term, as Flip would not get sued.
So now to look at the financials of Flip, one way Flip is able to save financially is that they circumvent the need to obtain a license and the need to pay taxes on profits, which traditional sportsbooks needs to do. And these are not negligible fees or rates, as licensing fees to obtain a sportsbook license can range all the way from $2,000 to a whopping $750,000 in some states. And tax rates on profits can range from 6.75% all the way to 50% in some states. And so Flip is able to save significant amount of money by avoiding these taxes and licensing fees, which would be associated with running a traditional sportsbook. Another thing to look at is the tax exploits for Flip. As I just said, Flip is able to avoid paying taxes on revenues and profits. However, users still have to file taxes on winnings over a certain threshold. And so Flip is kind of getting all of the benefit here. Meanwhile, the user loses out. And this is just kind of one way in which Flip is able to take advantage of its kind of unique system to kind of exploit as much benefit from it as possible by avoiding the taxes. Meanwhile, that kind of burden still happens to fall upon the user and they have to file after a certain threshold. To compare Flip to some competitors in the space, namely DraftKings and FanDuel, revenue-wise, Flip is estimated to be bringing in about $2 million in revenue compared to DraftKings' $417 million in revenue, and FanDuel's whopping $1.9 billion. However, one thing to note is that Flip has a much broader potential market reach due to its 21 plus age restriction. It's the only one of the three that doesn't have that, and it is available in more states than the other compared to the other two, which is 32 states compared to DraftKings 22 and FanDuel's 19. So they have a much larger potential reach. So as discussed, with the more states and the lower age, Flip's potential market is higher than any other sportsbook out there, and therefore potential profits are very high. Another important thing to note is that Flip is backed by investment firms with investments in real sportsbooks, casinos, and gaming services, which we'll see and I'll discuss on the next slide. So Rain Investments, Aces Investments, and Courtside Venture Capital are three investment firms who have holdings in DraftKings, SimpleBet, and Jackpot.com respectively, but are also invested in Flip. One potential problem that we can see here financially from an investor standpoint is that these companies may not be viewing Flip so much as a standalone investment with its own intrinsic value, but they may be viewing it as more of a stepping stone, especially given Flip's kind of shaky legal standing that, as we've discussed in the legal section. These companies may be seeing Flip as a way to kind of target that underage demographic, get them hooked, and then once they are of age, they will transition onto the real and, real sportsbook and betting applications that these companies are invested in. So one problem is that they could be seeing Flip less as its own investment and more of a stepping stone for other business ventures. One important point is the stolen government revenue. So according to the American Gaming Association, states lose $700 million in unregulated sports betting taxes a year. Americans bet a whopping $63 billion through unregulated sports betting avenues, which is compared to a measly $13 billion through legal avenues. So the important takeaway here is that this is a large amount of money that is being basically stolen from the government. The government cannot really, profit or tax this unregulated sports betting avenues. And, this is not a small amount of money, and it's kind of a ticking time bomb. It's a matter of time before the government realizes how much money is kind of going under their noses and how much they're losing. And in fact, last year, Congress actually wrote a letter to the Department of Justice urging them to crack down on offshore betting websites. And we easily believe that FLIF could get caught up in these settlements and face persecution. So some potential financial solutions that we present for FLIF is that at the moment, FLIF doesn't run any ads. It's a completely ad-free experience, which is nice. However, allowing users to watch ads in exchange for coins or cash would generate organic and legal ad revenue. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in exchange for currencies. They could just sprinkle ads throughout the interface and the user experience in order to kind of generate that revenue. So as talked about in the legal section, our next kind of solution is just to come into compliance with legal regulations in order to prevent government intervention and a total loss of the company. We suggest that coming into the legal compliance now is better because obviously suffering a full complete loss of the company is the worst case scenario. And by coming into compliance, they would structure themselves to be a more sustainable business and have the long-term growth. And sure, they could take some hits in profit and revenue now. However, it would develop a more sustainable business for the future and for the longevity of FLIF. Our next solution, a bit counterintuitive, is actually to restrict access to FLIF cash from the teenage demographic. As discussed with the free cash that they give to users, what happens is that these teen users who have less of their own money to put into the app are more likely to use this free cash and place risky bets with high odds, bet parlays, and then when one of those bets eventually hits, they're just going to be able to cash out and basically take money from FLIF without ever having put anything in. And so restricting FLIF cash from the teenage demographic could actually positively impact profits, as adult users would be more likely to kind of put in their own money. And then when they cash out, FLIF is not just giving out free money at a loss.
So just a summary of the problems we identified with FLIF's current implementation of general access to sports gambling. First, we identified the problem that results from FLIF setting its age limit to 18 plus and using a friendly interface, along with having a diminished lack of identity check. The effect of this problem is that the target audience, who are young teens and young adults, is highly susceptible to destructive gambling addictions, and that even younger users would be able to access FLIF through identity fraud because of their lack of identity check. The next problem we identified is that FLIF's use of sweepstakes laws to create a sports book are on shaky grounds, and that this effect would be that although state laws are ignored, allowing FLIF to set its own regulations and avoid additional taxing and licensing fees, FLIF has a large potential for extreme lawsuits that could put FLIF out of business. Furthermore, FLIF avoiding additional licensing and taxing results in another problem. Although it results in short-term profit, does not look good for investors in the gambling industry. And we believe that investors in FLIF are only looking to support their other investments, such as DraftKings. So to summarize our solutions, our first proposed solution is for FLIF to set its age limit to make purchases or withdrawals to 21 plus, or whatever age limit each state requires for sports gambling, and for FLIF to input the SCID system for identity checking. The effect of these proposed solutions will be that teens can no longer lose or gain actual money, the FLIF cash on FLIF, which decreases addiction severity with minimal loss of profits, as these teens would not be able to actually bet a lot of their money or be able to withdraw a lot of FLIF's money. And the SCID system would also crack down on identity fraud and prevent younger users who are super susceptible to sports betting addictions from using FLIF. Our next solution is in the legal aspect, which is that FLIF should follow state laws, either implementing a true sweepstakes system or online sports betting system to try and get off those rocks of being something in between. And we believe that this would significantly decrease the risk of a lawsuit that would be severely harmful to FLIF as a company. We also suggest that FLIF pays the necessary taxing and licensing fees, or uses the true sweepstakes system. Because this would make Fliff seem more stable. This would also make it seem like a more developing long-term growth company, which would help attract investor interest in Fliff. And maybe then investors would want to invest in Fliff for the company itself and not for its future endeavors. So we believe that these solutions should be implemented as soon as possible, since Fliff is still a relatively small and growing company. When it gets too big, it might be hard to implement these features as they might be too big of a change. And although some of the solutions do suggest drastic changes to what the system has to offer, they will save the company in the long term by preventing it from getting completely shut down and put out of business.
So in conclusion, given the ethical, legal, and financial considerations of the problems facing Fliff's current state of operation, we recommend these solutions in order to solve these problems and ensure the satisfaction and safety of Fliff's users, and also the insurance for the future success of Fliff as a business.
We thank you for your time, Fliff Board, and hope that the Crusader consultants have helped you today. There you go.
Thank you very much. Carl, Elizabeth, do either of you board members have questions for our consultant team?
I do have one. Thank you for bringing these concerns and issues to our attention. I did note that your suggestions would cost us upfront money and time and technology to implement. If we were to only implement one, is there one suggestion that you think is most important, or can they be staged, or is this kind of an all or nothing recommendation? Do you have any comment on that?
I would say that it is definitely not an all or nothing recommendation. There are certainly certain aspects of our solutions that can be put into play without the help of our other solutions suggested. For example, the increase to identity checking could be changed relatively easily, whereas the complete changing of the system of the Fliff coins and Fliff cash system to a sweepstakes system, or vice versa into a sportsbook system, would take a lot more time and be a lot more costly. Although we believe that the changing of the system as a whole would be beneficial long term, because we see an imminent lawsuit for Fliff. We do suggest that for ethical reasons, Fliff focus first on implementing better identity checks and looking to support its users who might be more susceptible to sports gambling, and help prevent underage sports gambling addictions by providing easy access to sports gambling information and awareness to its users, and by helping to implement a wager limit through various portions of time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm a fairly new member of this board, so I'm really appreciative of your comments. I think the company hired you, didn't we, to take a look at us and tell us what you saw through your eyes?
Yes. We're just, oh, excuse me, I don't really understand your question. Could you say it again?
Well, you answered it. You know, the company hired you to take a look at us through your eyes and tell us what our company looks like to you. And you've done that very well. I think you've done that. And being a new board member, it's helpful to me to figure out. I'm looking at the values of our company. I don't know, did you get a chance to look at our company values?
So the company is still very, very small, only having less than 25 members total. So the company values are simply to provide a fun sports book for people looking for a more social sports book, and they're looking to simply continue to instigate fun gambling environments. And
Okay, that's great. Yeah. In fact, my understanding of it, and the other board members could correct me, but we really are focused on being a social network rather than a gambling network. Part of the society is, hey, it's kind of fun to look at sports events and have a little skin in the game, and that's what a bet is. It's a little thing and doesn't mean a whole lot. But our three values are to make a company that's welcoming and friendly, and that anybody can join up with. Obviously, there's some age restrictions that we have to talk about. And the second value is to be lively and creative, to value all the ideas that people have, and kind of segregate them into those that are things that we can implement, those things we have to discard, and then provide a stimulating and rewarding environment, because that's what people want to do in a social setting, is be stimulated and rewarded. And I think what I've observed from the company is that's really what it's trying to do. What vision would you have for our company in 10 years? What are we going to look like in 10 years?
that's a good question. So in 10 years, I can either envision Fliff taking one of the two routes we suggested, which is becoming a prominent sports book that revolves around a more social aspect of sports betting and competing with the big current sports betting companies such as DraftKings. And the thing that Fliff could utilize is the use of Fliff coins in its social aspect of the sports book. Because right now, the only thing you see your friends or anyone else you follow on the app making bets in is through Fliff coins. You cannot see what people put bets in through Fliff cash. So our suggestion is limiting Fliff cash will not diminish the social aspect, because it's not even shown in the social part. So we see them either becoming a competitor due to their social implementations a lot into sports betting, which no current sports book currently offers, or we see them taking the sweepstakes route and implementing a whole different new system and ideas into sports gambling with the ticket system, whereas tickets can be converted back and forth, and you can gamble with tickets and you can see who wins what tickets instead of actual money. And we can see that being very prominent, as it's a relatively new idea that does not currently exist in the gambling industry. And we can see that growing in 10 years.
So I want to follow up on what Carl asked about the evolution of the company, because if I understand correctly, the idea behind requiring ID at sign up would be, if you're not at least 18 years old, you cannot join any aspect of Fliff. Is that correct? Would that be the purpose of the ID? I mean, can you still do, so we would lose those young teenage kids who were super into sports and, they've got their fantasy leagues and they play sports. We would lose their social engagement because we're prohibiting them from any part of the company, even the social aspects, because we're afraid they might inadvertently be allowed to gamble, even though we're not a primarily online gambling company. Have you looked at maybe allowing them within the social realm, let them have ID, let them participate, build, build our user interface, but maybe just have a better separation of wall between people who can participate but not gamble? And, have we looked at that? Because I don't want, we're a young growing company. If we have to go register and start paying licensing fees and taxes in every single one of these states, we're suddenly going against these existing companies and we have to be them, but we don't have the revenue or the users to be them. Don't we need to be something else? Like, I don't know if you guys looked at, is there a way to meet some of your concerns without changing who the company is and without turning away users who might be interested in us because they can't do those other things yet?
I agree with you that Fliff should be something different than what current sportsbooks have to offer. And I agree that Fliff is currently developing toward that. And a way that this can be done is due to Fliff having two currencies, the Fliff coins and the Fliff cash. If Fliff coins are accessible by anyone, and Fliff coins, as of right now, they're the only thing shown in the social aspect. So they can continue to be shown in the social aspect and maybe redeemed for gift cards, but not actual cash. Then it would continue for younger users to play in the sports gambling world and compete with their friends and keep up with sports on our app. However, we would restrict access to Fliff cash from them because Fliff cash is what actually allows them to withdraw money and withdraw US dollars, which it raises both legal concerns and financial concerns for Fliff, because if these kids are getting free money through the interval reward system, such as the daily or hourly cash, they could gain enough money by wagering to eventually withdraw cash with no risk and also without Fliff profiting at all. And so we believe that by banning Fliff cash for younger users, it would help us do that in the financial sense, and also in the ethical sense. We would like to prevent sports gambling addictions from running rampant by restricting access to either from young users, as we believe that Fliff coins could be just as addictive as, or not just as addictive as Fliff cash, but also addictive and lead to further sports gambling addictions down the road.
But there's nothing illegal about having this set up, right? And we're not currently in any sort of regulatory trouble. We haven't been sued, have we? We haven't actually had anybody come in and tell us we're doing anything wrong with the business, right?
As of right now, there has not been any lawsuits such as these or accusations such as these, but we believe that is because Fliff is still a small company. We found many articles starting to pile up about, people's kids losing money on this app and them becoming concerned about how easily it was for them to do so. And so we believe that basically all of our large suggestions for the sweepstakes or pure sports gambling route are to help Fliff avoid this lawsuit eventually coming. Because if, let's say, the sweepstakes rules change, or Fliff all of a sudden does not satisfy one of the sweepstakes rules, then it could be subject to major lawsuits and be completely put out of business.
I think what I'm hearing from the consultants is that there is a concern about potential compliance with the law problems in the future. What's really triggering them, it seems to me, is that there are things that are legal that are not ethical, and that they're feeling there's some sense they have that what is going on may indeed not trigger the legal corrections, but still be unethical and something that the company should shift from. Do the consultants have anything more to explain in that particular arena?
Yeah, I think definitely like the ethical implications is like a big factor, because like the coin system, for example, the coin for gift card payout is not necessarily illegal. There's no legal restrictions on that, but you are still, like, as we discussed, tapping into these young kids, underdeveloped brains who are highly susceptible to kind of, try to win these coins, try to get these gift cards and put them in this cycle of, gambling, which could, lead to much more drastic issues later down the line when they have access to gamble with real cash.
I'm trying to come off. There we go. Trying to come off mute. Aren't the kids from very young ages already playing games where they accumulate points and they compete to have higher points than other people. And what we're doing is not a whole lot different than that.
I guess the main difference with Flip is obviously the reward. I mean, with a lot of like video games, obviously are huge in the youth right now, but it's kind of contained there just in the game. Whereas here, these kids are actually getting access to real life rewards. They're getting something tangible that they can use, they can spend. They are, it's a much more greater sense of reward and payout than just a traditional video game or something of that sort.
So an option for us might be to not deliver any rewards to anybody who's not 21. Let people go ahead and sign up and play the game and do all the other part. We just don't pay any rewards to them until they're 21.
Yeah, like they can have badges and things like that, but just they can't get cash or gift cards.
Do you see any ethical issues with that solution?
Well, so, and I guess my question, to the consultants is your concern that it's an addiction for gambling, or is it a concern that it's an addiction of using the app for behaviors that will lead to monetary gambling down the road? If we just don't let them cash it out yet, but we keep them coming back for virtual rewards and stuff, is that going to satisfy the issue, or is the issue not so much that they got cash, but that we've hooked them on a behavior that you're concerned about? And kind of how is that any different than, if I don't log into Candy Crush every day, I don't get my like XP points and it's harder to beat the next level. So I keep going back and I'm 50 years old. So, where's the line between, I want you to come back and use our product, but we're worried about any harm we might do to developing minds and addictive behaviors and things like that?
So we believe that if we do limit the actual withdrawal of tangible rewards from the app to 21 and up, and still allow younger users to use all the social and get all of the arbitrary made up rewards such as badges, although it would aid Flip itself in the financial and legal aspects, which would, I believe it would reduce the risk of lawsuits and it might allow Flip to profit. I believe that it would continue to promote sports gambling in the youth because they're quite literally sports gambling. It would help them transition directly into more dangerous, not exactly dangerous, but it would help them develop more dangerous sports addictions later on in life. Because right now with Flip, they get free money every time they log in, so there's no actual risk. They can gain without any risk, and they can play without any risk, and they can hit zero without any risk and still continue to play the next day. However, in the real world, they would be quick to find that this is not the case and that there is actually a lot of risk and that they may be losing a lot more money than they believe they did in Flip. And we believe that it would not help these young users in the long run.
Kind of build off of that, I think that's an important aspect to like distinguish between like a video game. These are like real world events that they're betting on, and especially like if they're betting on like their favorite player or their favorite team, they're a lot more invested and they have a lot more kind of stake in it, and that may kind of help and to addict them and kind of hook them on even more.
Any other board member comments or questions for our consultants?
One last question, and if you didn't think about that, that's completely fine. But if we're looking at the difference between engagement, social activity, coming on and kind of playing a game versus a transition to actual betting of cash where you have things at stake, as you age up, do we provide any sort of education to our users or assistance to our users or anything like that, whether it's documents, have we done anything or looked at that, or maybe do our competitors do anything like that? I mean, I don't know if you guys came across that in your industry analysis.
The question, does Flip offer gambling addiction advice, or is it if it
Well,
offers how it works?
Maybe some of each, how it works, what's real, what's not. This is a game, this is real life. I don't know if our industry competitors do that, if we do that, if we should do that, or if we even thought about that. And like I said, if we haven't thought about it, that's fine too.
We did find that there was a page on Flip's website. It's very long and very complicated, just stating how Flip really works with the sweepstakes system. And it's basically just there for the legal issue, the legal aspect, whereas it just has to say this stuff to try to explain to users. And other sports books don't really have to do this since they are true sports betting. And we did find that these sports books did have ample opportunities for users to get help for their gambling addictions, or even catch their gambling addictions early before they develop. And so if Flip is more direct about what it is doing and uses a simpler system, we believe that it could help prevent both lawsuits and help users use it knowing what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll transition out of our roles. Everybody just take a deep breath. No more consultants, no more board members. And we'll just go ahead and give you some feedback. We'll kind of give you feedback on your presentation, on your idea, on your Q&A part. And then we'll also try and give you some feedback that will help you tomorrow, because you're going to be doing a 10-minute presentation just focused on the ethical concerns around the issue in your solution, and then a 90-second as well. Elizabeth, do you want to go ahead and start with the feedback?
Sure. Absolutely. First of all, guys, you did a very good job. You should be so proud of yourselves. I know it's nerve-wracking, especially in the kind of the virtual. You might not even be able to read our body language or kind of engage. So very good job, all of you. I'm going to try to give you some comments. And again, this is truly meant to help you. One thing I will say, when it comes to your PowerPoint, I would encourage you to talk about the slides rather than just read the slides. I know sometimes when you're nervous, you might read them, but if you explain them, it'll help you with your confidence as you talk, you know, to be able to, it conveys that level of, I really know my stuff. I can talk about it. I don't have to read it to you. And it makes it a little more engaging. So I would just say that in general, but I get it. You know, sometimes if you're nervous and the words are right in front of you, we tend to read them. Another thing, and I will say about the schedule, the questions, it's amazing. It is so difficult to sit there and you have no idea what anybody's going to ask you. And I'll tell you, having presented to boards, being questioned by boards, both inside a company and as a consultant, you never know what they're going to ask. Sometimes they can be very opinionated. Sometimes they can be open-minded or not. Be confident in your decision. If this is your recommendation because you've done the work and your answer is no, then your answer is no, your answer is yes. And if you haven't looked at it, it's fine to say, I don't know, we haven't looked at that. If you would like us to continue and get back, it's really okay to say all of that. But don't worry about not giving them the answer they want when they ask a question, because if they've engaged you to come in and paid you and you've done the work, you know, you have to be able to give the answer. So, you know, don't worry about if somebody asks you a question that seems a little tough, because that's what boards do, because their interest is the company making money. So if my questions came across as a little, that's just real life, but you guys did a great job. I'm very proud of you all.
Okay, there we go. I too thought you did an outstanding job, but I've been looking at these presentations for more than 20 years. And the Zoom environment is difficult for me to rate you on presentations because I'm used to doing evaluation of in-person presentations. So what I've got here is talking heads, and you're doing that just fine. I can't complain about that at all. And I thought your charts were very clear. So it was good job on that also. There are four categories of ethics. One is compliance with the law, and I thought that your presentation was primarily focused on compliance with the law. Another is corporate social responsibility, which you didn't touch at all, but which you could have, but not for tomorrow because it would take too much work. Then ethics is what I was talking about. Ethics is really about values and principles based on the values. And that's where I think you could shine better than you did. The company appears to have 3 values: welcoming and friendly, lively and creative, stimulating and rewarding. And I think you could have proposed that they need to have a 4th corporate value, which is safe for the participants and safe for the company, and then built all of your arguments around that other value that they should add. That might be something that you even have time to implement before you do presentations tomorrow. I don't know. You'd have to think about that. The 4th category is just paper ethics, notional ethics that sometimes a lot of companies, I think, just put it on the website. Hey, we're ethical. You can trust us and that sort of thing. And they don't really try to live up to that. And the way you detect that is you go around and ask the employees, what are the values of the company? And the employees come back with, I don't know. We never thought about that. But they're listed on the website. Well, we don't pay any attention to that. But overall, I thought you did a good job. I would just suggest that if you can, go for a 4th value for the company and talk about the company's values and couch your arguments to the company in terms of the values that the company has expressed. Then you are on the side of the company instead of coming in as antagonists or opponents to the company. And you had a little bit of that in your presentation. We're here to tell you you're doing something that's wrong and you need to fix it. And that could stir the board of directors in the wrong direction. But overall, you came out pretty good on that.
So I think that the 3 of you did an excellent job. I'm really impressed that you're all freshmen, which means that you've just started your college careers and you probably haven't had a ton of experience doing these kinds of presentations. So I think that you put together a great presentation. You all sound and look very, very professional. So kudos to that. I thought that was great. I agree with Elizabeth. Really try not to read slides. It's one of those things where it does distract from what you're saying, right? Because I can read a slide just as much as you could read the slide, right? So that's definitely a feedback I would give you. And I hope that you all do participate in this competition next year. So that would be something to take forward for next year. I thought that you did a very, very good job of taking a complex online thing and educating us on how it worked. I'm still not entirely sure exactly how it works, even though you did a great job, just because it's kind of, I've never participated, I've never even played Candy Crush, but it kind of makes sense. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand what it is this flip thing does that I've never heard of before, and your solution. So that was great. It's very, very difficult to take complex kind of things like that and pack in a 20-minute presentation, not only your issue solution and the ethical, legal, and financial dimensions, but also explain to us what the heck this thing is. So great job on that. I think that you definitely went over kind of the ethical issues around the teens and the gambling, the risk of gambling addiction. I think you did a good job there. On your other issue and solution, which is, hey, Fliff, you don't really even know exactly what kind of company you are, right? Are you social? Are you sweepstakes? Are you gambling? I'm not sure you fleshed out as much the ethical parts of that, right? So whether it's tied to the mission statement, like Carl was suggesting, tying it back to like, who are we as a company? And I think at the end of the day, you were saying you do not seem to want to become a gambling company, right? You want to be something different, whether it's social or a fun sweepstakes. So if your overall core mission is that, then you need to really make sure that your product is aligning to your mission. That would have been a good way to kind of tie it back to that as well. And also to talk about the fact that, you know, kind of not quite following laws and regulations is not a really ethical thing to do, right? Because it sounds like you're kind of saying that a little bit, that we're kind of like coming up to that line of gambling, but not going over it. But that's a risky place to be. And you talked about the legal ramifications, which I think you did a great job of explaining what all the legal ramifications were, but maybe talking about kind of some of the ethical parts of that as well would be great. But overall, I think the three of you did a really, really excellent job in looking at all the various aspects of it. For tomorrow, for the 10 minutes, just as a reminder, what you're doing is basically us, the board, although it will be different judges, the board have asked you as consultants to come back to really give us some concise and detailed kind of analysis of the ethical aspects of it. All right. So it's going to be a little bit tough because you can't go into the legal and the financial. So I think but I think you should still have your two different solutions. Like, here are the two issues and here are two different solutions we've come up with. Be sure that up front, you identify the issues and the solutions, right? Especially when you don't have a PowerPoint, it's really important that you deliver the bottom line up front, right? You're Fliff, you are a sweepstakes social networking app. And, you know, here's an issue with underage gambling, and here's an issue with not having clarity, kind of melding into a gambling space, and here are the ethical issues, and here's our solution. Like that, you kind of have to do it like that, because you're not going to have that time to explain to the new judges like what Fliff is. You really have to be concise around that and what your solution and the issues are. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. Thank you for the feedback.
Are you going to do it next year?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing I'll tell you is you have taken a complex topic, which is great, because when we score you as judges, we actually give an edge to those teams that do find something that's pretty complex and kind of cutting edge. So that's great. So I can't wait to see what you come up with next year. Elizabeth and Carl, do either of you have any more feedback or questions?
I wanted to share the only place on the website, public website, that shows the values is here, Life at FLIF, which where they're trying to recruit employees. But those where the 3 values are that they state, and then I've added the 4th. That's the only place I could find it.
Yeah, I think it is important for companies to clarify what their values are, and not just use them as a marketing tool for hiring, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll say that if you do come back next year or as you go forward, as Carl mentioned, part of ethics is the paper, and some of the very easy answers, simple hints are always, what does our code of ethics say? Does it need to be updated? Is this in our supplier policy? Is this, in our user policy? A lot of it is making sure you put in writing what your values are and how you adhere with those. And if you don't have those, that's a really easy win to give to a board to say, part of what we need to do as we grow is make sure that our documentation aligns with our values, and then, so that we're correct across the board. And, that's just something you learn over time as you work in these areas, but that's always that's an easy give if you need something like that.
Okay. Any other feedback, any questions, anything else?
Good job. Go away feeling great.
Great job. Yeah, be proud of yourselves and go relax. Take your tie off.
So Carl and Elizabeth, do you guys have the judging form?
Yeah, they emailed it to us.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, my dog's excited. Somebody just came to the door. Well, thank you all so much, and thank you, Les, for assisting us with everything. And great job, and good luck tomorrow.